everyone, my name is Jonathan Torgi. I am the proud founder of Quri Vodka. I believe Quri Vodka is the most unique vodka in the world. And I've searched high and low all over to see if I can find anything that compares. And I don't believe it's out there. With that, and being so unique, and this mystique of being from South America, from Peru, the Andes, using quinoa, we get a lot of questions. People are really curious about this product. So I wanted to put this web series together to answer some of those questions. Today, I'm gonna go through how, this is always the number one question, right? How did this gringo wind up in Peru? It's a pretty interesting story. Most people are shocked to find out that their Peruvian quinoa vodka didn't start in Peru. I would say that it really started in Brazil, and even farther back, I would say maybe even Chicago. So I was working as an engineer right outside of Chicago, and I don't know what happened, where I came up with the idea, but it was 2014, and it was the World Cup, soccer. I'm not even a soccer fan, but Brazil that year was supposed to win the World Cup. The World Cup was going to be in Rio de Janeiro, and my thought is that if the soccer capital of the world wins the World Cup and the party capital of the world, it's going to be the party of the millennium, and there's no way that I was going to miss it. So I called up to get our visa, right? You need to get a visa to go to Brazil, and what they have is called a reciprocal policy. So any country that requires something of them, they do the same in return. So the United States requires for a Brazilian to come to the United States to get a full-on visa, right? Tourist visa. So Brazil requires the same thing. And I'm not saying a stamp in the passport. I'm talking you need to get your photos done. You've got to apply at the embassy. And then they take your passport for a week or so that they can laminate a visa into the passport. So I called up, I'm working in Chicago, and my home address technically at the time was still back in Maryland. So I wasn't allowed to go to the embassy, Brazilian embassy in Chicago. I had to use the one in Washington, D.C. because that was my district. So the only thing that I could do was get a family member to go and do all the work at the Brazilian embassy, file the papers, do all that stuff. So I called my mother, and my poor mother has to go to the embassy 2 or 3 times, sitting there for 4 or 5 hours, to get me this visa just so I can go to a party. God bless her. It turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. Of all the things that she's ever done for me, it's one of the things I could say, one of the most grateful things. So we get it, right? I mean, and it comes down to the wire. I've got my plane ticket. I've never, when I was younger, I'd been to Europe, Canada. I've never been to, South America or a lot of countries outside of Western Europe and American culture. So I didn't really know what to suspect. I fly down there. I have no idea where I'm going to stay. I didn't plan that far ahead. I didn't even know what area of Rio de Janeiro I was going to stay in. I happened to have met an older American on the plane who was flying down there and had been there several times, and he kind of took me under his wing. So we get a taxi. He tells me, you got to stay in Copacabana. That's just it. That's where you go when you're in Rio de Janeiro. We get a taxi. We stay there. I find a hostel that's got a room, thank God, we're talking the World Cup, right? Half of the world is there, and I don't know how I got a room, but I did. Enjoyed the World Cup. It was fun. Brazil didn't do so well, but whatever. It was a good time. And after the World Cup, I had been hanging out with a group of Americans and Colombians, and they had decided that they were going to go to this paradise town 3-4 hours north of Rio de Janeiro called Bucios. So I say, of course, right? Why not, right? I hop on the bus with them. We go up there, and lo and behold, we find another hostel, and guess who's staying there? Now, I didn't know it at the time, but the most beautiful woman I've ever met in my life is staying at the same hostel, and she turns out, several years later to become my wife, Shirley. And so, we meet, and I would tell you, we got married several years later, but I think we were married from that day on. The next day, we went on this beautiful boat cruise with everybody, and we fell in love. It was the first day we kissed, and from that day on, again, we were married essentially, without a ring. But so we wound up traveling back and forth. And I didn't even tell you. So this girl, Shirley, who's my wife now, is Peruvian. So we traveled back and forth from the United States. She would come to the US. I would go to Peru to visit her. We went back and forth for probably a year and a half. I had kind of at the time realized that I didn't particularly like working my job in the office. So when I was in Chicago, it was great. I was in a factory, hands-on, got to twist wrenches once in a while, worked in the office as well, a lot of variety. I really liked it, a lot of projects. Once that kind of dried up, I was shipped back to the home office in Maryland. And, I sat at a desk 9 to 5, like most of us do. And, I kind of got a little tired of it after several years. And I, not particularly proud of it, but I used my wife and love as an excuse to quit this great job. Pretty young, making pretty good money. Why would you quit? Well, it's for love. No one ever argues with that. What are they going to say? No, you shouldn't, of course, right? So it was true. I was in love. I wanted to be with my future wife, but it was also a good way to get out of the routine that I was in. So I quit my job, moved down to Peru. My wife and I, we traveled around for probably 2-3 months, absolutely fell in love with the country. I mean, it is so incredible down here. You've got the coast. I'm a big surfer, so the surfing here is incredible. You've got the jungle. You go up into the Amazon. I mean, it is the Amazon jungle. There's no other place in the world like it. You travel through the jungle. You see these cultures, food you've never seen, fruits you've never seen, and it's an adventure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And then what I really fell in love with was the Andes. These mountains are and I grew up skiing. I skied in Europe, Colorado, all over. The mountains in the Andes are astronomically huge. I mean, they are so big. They are so mesmerizing. They are so beautiful. When you're up there, it is a whole nother world. I mean, it's being in the Andes is like being, I must imagine what it was like when the first Europeans came here. It's incredible. I mean, it is absolutely magical. And, I really fell in love with it. And, I'll get into why we are using quinoa for our vodka. But I think that kind of gets, the idea of the story of how I got here in Peru. In the next few web series, I'm going to go through, why we chose quinoa, go through our process and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's the origin story. How did this gringo wind up in Peru? And there's no question it was for love. Absolutely. And then, I fell in love with a girl in Brazil, moved to Peru, fell in love with the country of Peru. And it has been the adventure of a lifetime. So yeah, I love it. You guys check us out. If you haven't checked out our Start Engine page, go ahead and look through it. I want you guys to be part of our family. This company isn't going to work without a big family. I mean, that's really what we're doing with the campaign. So, if you like our story, if you think this vodka has some potential in the US and throughout the world, go ahead and click that invest button. And, every dollar helps us. I mean, it helps us. You're going to be part of it. And it's going to be a great experience and great adventure. All right, guys, it was really great talking to you. You're going to get some more of these stories. They're all going to be pretty entertaining. So have a great day.